on the news, I just watched Alison Pearson, a journalist with the Telegraph and with other mainstream media TV outlets, saying how on Remembrance Day morning, and you'll see the irony of this in a minute, all those men, women of all colours, all nations who died so we could have freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Not the only bit of hypocrisy I've seen, I must say. Looking at Starmer, Blair, Boris Johnson, Sunak at the cenotaph laying wreaths. I could see the hypocrisy with the socialist worker pro-Palestine mob in the distance shouting during the minute's silence. People who don't care about this country, don't care about the dead men, women and children who gave their lives and were killed in the cause of allowing those people.
These are motherfuckers!
Okay, there you go. Show him your sign.
Alright, let's see. Fuck off Nazis.
The pro-Palestinian, the socialist worker mob, the communists, the Marxists, to be able to protest on our streets, to be able to shout during the minute's silence, to be able to go out and abuse Jewish people, to be able to go out and call everyone far right who they disagree with. The irony is there and the hypocrisy was there for all to see. I think the only reason that the veterans didn't turn their back on Starmer and co is because their moral code is too high, which is probably the reason that they made good soldiers. Those men and women, those brave men and women, they must have been turning in their graves when two police officers knocked on Alison Pearson's door and said she'd committed a non-crime hate crime. Now that is straight out of Orwell's 1984. If you haven't read it, it's about a dystopian state where the thought police can arrest you and you're never seen again, basically. And that's where this country is going. A non-crime hate incident, that's what they called it. Now, if I was a police officer, and I used to be for a short while, and someone said to me, anyone said to me, a sergeant, an inspector, a chief inspector, a superintendent, a chief constable had said to me, go knock on that citizen's door and say that they've committed a non-crime hate incident. But you can't tell them what they've said, and you can't tell them when they've said it, and you can't tell them who has made a complaint. I would have just looked at them and laughed and resigned there and then. And I'm being serious. Because how can you say that to someone? It goes back to the Stasi, it goes back to the SS in Germany, when you can knock on someone's door and say, oh, you've committed a non-crime. And if the police are knocking on your door, the clue is in the non-crime. They're knocking on your door for something that you said a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago on social media that didn't incite hate, didn't incite violence. They're knocking on your door. Just like the police did under Hitler and Stalin. And you've got a file on their records for something, for a crime you didn't commit. How mad is that? How mad is that? And yet, Yvette Cooper, Keir Starmer, they're right behind it. Doesn't that tell you everything about them? People being labelled far right and called violent protesters just for protesting, not setting things on fire, not being violent for protesting. Violent disorder, utter tosh. People being imprisoned by virtually kangaroo courts. Does that ring any bells? Happened recently. Also happened under Stalin. Also happened under Hitler. Any bells? It has for a Polish lady I met last week. He's swanning around at COP29 at the moment, being the big statesman, the Davos puppet, committing us to net zero targets that no energy expert that I've personally spoken to, and I've spoken to a few because I didn't want to be wrong, none of them said it's viable without mass job losses, without massive energy bills. And let's face it, Starmer, we're going to cut £400 off your energy bill, we're going to freeze your energy bill. He's not done that, has he? So when he says, it will make jobs, it will be better, blah, 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 to cut CO2 that we need anyway, and is currently running at one of the lowest levels in history, I don't believe him. I don't believe him. So why do people do it? Well, propaganda. Yeah, if it's very, very hot, hotter than normal, even though you've started taking surface temperatures instead of temperatures 3 foot above the ground, it's got hotter. Yeah, it's snowing. Oh yeah, global warming. There's fires in Greece. Oh yeah, but they've been started by people. The police have prosecuted. No. Global warming. Oh, it's freezing. Yeah, it's because of global warming. Arctic ice, sea ice, is the thickest it's been in years. Against all these doomsayers, climate change enthusiasts' predictions. Why? Oh, it must be because of global warming. It must be because of climate change. It's because of man. Valencia this last week absolutely flooded. Why? Rainfall. Unprecedented rainfall. No, it's not. Do a bit of research. They've had the same rain before, but you know the difference? The EU, through EU legislation, have made them get rid of their dams. So, without those dams, where this used to happen, they're getting flooded. But if you didn't research that, how would you know? Look at TikTok. Look at TikTok. There's a failed DJ in his kitchen entertaining us. Oh look, there's a kid swearing his head off. He's only 3. He's going to grow up into such a nice individual, but isn't he funny? You watch the weather. There's a great big red map. They started taking their readings differently, so it gives different results. It'll make the place seem hotter. Now there is climate change. Famously, 97% of scientists agree there's climate change. But man's effect on it is very open to debate. I've seen between 1 and 4%. 1 and 4%. Now, we are animals, we live on the planet. You've got nutcases, total psychopaths like Bill Gates saying, we need to stop the cows farting. I even saw an article yesterday saying we're going to have a jab to stop flatulence in humans. Can you not see what's happening? We had a medical intervention during COVID, didn't we? A medical intervention produced by some of the most heavily fined pharmaceutical companies in history. But we should trust them, because all the other times, forget about that, during COVID, they were acting in our best interests. And the worldwide explosion of excess deaths that happened around and then after the time of this medical intervention, that's pure coincidence. Pure coincidence, because we can trust these pharmaceutical companies. These pharmaceutical companies who lobby our governments, who finance our governments, who finance the FDA in America, who have got massive corporate influence. We can trust them because they got our best interests at heart over COVID. People said to me during COVID, Glenn, you don't seem to have bought into this like we have. You're not out clapping like a seal on a Thursday night. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, something doesn't ring true. To me personally, I'm wrong though. For the purposes of YouTube, Google, I'm wrong. But I said, when someone tells me that one of the symptoms of a respiratory virus is not having any symptoms, I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me. When someone tells me that you can have 6 people in a house, but you can't have 7 people in a house, I don't know, but something rings not right. When someone tells me that because of a respiratory virus, you can't walk out in the open air, I think to myself, that's strange. It's just me. I'm wrong, obviously. When there's a medical intervention and afterwards there's loads of excess deaths, I might ask if someone's going to investigate if there's any correlation. But I wouldn't do that because I know I'd be wrong. Because I trust the pharmaceutical companies, even the heavily fined ones, for telling porkies in the past, and I trust our government. Keir Starmer might have lied when he said he was going to cut energy bills, when he said he was going to freeze energy bills, when he said 4,000 people are going to die, pensioners are going to die if the winter fuel allowance is cut, and then he cut it. When he said loads of other things prior to the election until he got elected. And then, oh, there's a £22 billion black hole and I can't do any of that now. No, it doesn't wash. But I'm wrong. He's telling the truth. You can trust him on climate change. The same you can trust all those other MPs who have got investments in climate change companies. You can trust all those scientists who are paid for by government funding. But not the ones who are independent. Don't trust them. Oh no. No, they're mad. They're conspiracy theorists. Trust the government ones. Trust Chris Whitty. Trust Patrick Vallance with the shares that they've got in GlaxoSmithKline. Trust them. They're the ones to trust. Going off on a tangent, I spoke to a Polish woman this week, a lovely, lovely lady, involved now in politics because she fled Poland when the communists were there, and she sees everything going exactly the same way. The communists in Poland and under Starmer, they went for the farmers, just as Starmer's going for our farmers now, trying to put them out of business. Control the food chain and you control the people. They say there's going to be shortages because of the conditions the farmers are being put under, but that'll get blamed on Brexit or something. You'll have that nutter outside Westminster, Steve Bray or whatever his name is, they'll be getting blamed on Brexit. It will suit the politicians to blame, but no, it's because of the assault on the farmers. Get rid of the farmers, control the food chain. I wonder if Bill Gates can introduce his bug food to replace it, can't he? Nice and simple. Watch a film called Soylent Green if you get the chance with Charlton Heston. I watched it once and I thought it was science fiction. I don't think it's too far from what will one day be the truth. And people are walking past oblivious on their phones. Will it be when their phones are taken away? Will it be when they can't go on holiday anymore? Will it be when they have to sell their houses because they can no longer afford food and a house? You'll own nothing and be happy. When will it be? At what point will people put their heads up from their phones? Will they look at the political parties, Labour, Tories, Lib Dems, all compromised? Possibly Reform. Well, they're funded by the same sort of people. And say to themselves, no. We need to get people, if we're going to carry on with this voting system, and I'm not convinced it's the way forward, I think there's just a great big national strike. Everyone withdraws their labour and says, start governing for us, not for yourselves. But it'll be a long time before enough people wake up for that to have any effect. But it works. Remember the oil refineries when the lorry drivers parked their vehicles in front of the gates? Country come to a standstill, as it would now, because renewable energy relies on the wind and the sun, and when it's not windy and it's not sunny, and you can't harness that energy anyway, you're up creek without a paddle. When will people realise? And this Polish lady, she was sad. She said, I can just see the way it's going. Everything we fought for, well, not us, our forefathers and foremothers fought for, to give us free speech, to give us freedom of expression, that's all going under Starmer's jackboot. This was prepared under the Tories, and all that happened was there was a baton change. It was just a baton change. And why do you think people couldn't see that? I just don't understand. Indoctrination? Apathy? Have they been deliberately so banged down against politics that they've given up with the system? And I don't blame them. I have to myself to a certain extent. But if you've got to fight by their rules, let's fight by their rules. Let's get our own people into power. But yeah, this Polish lady, I could have been in tears listening to her story. And that's coming, in my opinion, to a road near you. Now back to the police. There's a reason that the police brought in a graduate scheme, in my opinion. And that's so that the universities that have been compromised, that you've only got to look at Oxford and Cambridge, supporting trans ideology, which I do. I think you live your life the way you want to live. But don't tell me to say that a bloke in a dress, clearly a bloke in a dress, is a woman. He can think he is, but don't tell me to agree with that, because I don't. Don't get me to agree that a man should be in a boxing ring with a woman, because if that was in a house, it would be a domestic violence situation. Don't tell me that a man with a full meat and two veg should be allowed to get changed in a woman's changing room in a shop, because I'm not having it. Don't get me to say that a child is allowed to identify as a cat. Great, if you want to identify as a cat, give them a lit tray, tell them to take all their clothes off, and if they want to go to the toilet, use the lit tray. At dinner time, when everyone else is standing in the dinner queue waiting for their dinner, serve them up some whiskers. See how long it lasts. And if they do all that, then they need serious medical help, in my opinion. So these police, they've been indoctrinated at university. They go join the police because presumably there aren't enough graduate jobs about, or they just want to knock on people's doors and warn them, frighten them about non-crime hate incidents, because I would have said no. I've spoken to another couple of ex-police and they said, no, we wouldn't do it. So it's been an indoctrination process, and it's creeping and it's creeping. How do you stop it? Well, things like them wanting a cashless society, so every single penny that goes through your hands is monitored, so they always know where you are at any given moment. Just use cash. Places like Starbucks and is it Black Sheep Cafe, boycott them. Don't go there anymore. Go to the local guy or woman who's struggling to make a living. Go there. That's something you can do. And the councils, there's a lot of councils that are compromised by severely left-wing, communist-thinking people who are as big a danger to this country as Hitler was. But there's a lot of good people on those councils who don't realise what's happening. It's in front of their eyes, this climate agenda, for instance. But they think they're doing a good thing. Because we all want cleaner air for our children. We all want the human race to survive, because the planet's going to survive anyway, with or without us. We all want the human race to survive. Although when I look at some things now, I think, if there's another comet, please just speed it along. I want a better life for my children. I want a better life for my grandchildren. And so do some of these councillors. But if you're awake, if you can see what's happening, in May, you need to stand for your local council. You need to go round and say to your neighbours, I'm actually going to stand because I'm not agreeing with all this rubbish. Because if you don't, they will carry on with this agenda. It's not that long till Agenda 2030. Look it up. They're not hiding anything. It's in plain sight. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. We're lurching towards a communist, far left, extreme left state. Starmer's quite happy to let 4,000 pensioners die because of his breaking of his energy promises, because of his withdrawal of the winter fuel allowance for people just slightly over poverty. Doesn't that tell you something? They're talking about assisted dying. Well, I thought Starmer and co had their own assisted dying scheme in when they took away the winter fuel allowance from those pensioners. They said it would kill 4,000, so presumably that's the first of the assisted dying scheme. Now me, I'm someone who thinks that I've watched two close family members, I'll be honest, my dad and my stepdad, die in excruciating pain of cancer. Even the morphine wasn't taking it off, and I sat and cried and thought to myself, I wish they could just get an injection to put them out their misery like a dog would. Now I've got that viewpoint, rightly or wrongly, and I respect all views out there. Would I trust the government to legislate on that? Would I trust the government to make a good call on that? No, I would not, which is why I would oppose their scheme. I don't trust them to do anything. Can you imagine? These are the people that send police round your house for hurty words. These are the people that support medical interventions with no investigations if it looks like there could be a link with excess deaths. I'm not saying there is, I think it's just coincidence. But these are the people. Would you trust them to decide whether your granny dies or not? Some people out there looking down at their phones probably would. Not me. I think this is all about population control. When you go right up to the top, I think it's all about eugenics. And can you imagine if they were in charge of who dies and who lives? Oh, what's that? You got the sniffles? Oh, we better send the death squad round then. I wouldn't put that past them. They don't care. Oh, you're looking a bit peaky. Quick, death squad. Oh, your colour's not good. Doesn't the excess deaths, which everyone in government admits to, the fact they're not investigating that, but they're still carrying on with certain medical interventions, doesn't that say to you, oh, something's not right there? It's like having a murder scene, isn't it? And not investigating it. Well, there's a knife near the body and it's got fingerprints on. Yeah, but I doubt if that's got anything to do with the actual murder. That's what it's like. So what do? Well, we've all got to stand for our councils. And if that doesn't work, then you've got to have non-violent civil disruption. And I don't mean throwing orange paint at some masterpiece. I mean en masse not going to work. It'll bring the country to a halt. And everyone's got to be in with that. Farmers are demonstrating this week in London and the police have said, oh, you can only have so many. Tell the police to go. In fact, don't tell the police. Just turn up with as many vehicles and as many people as you can. Bring London to a halt. Get those people that haven't waken up yet to moan, to say what a disgrace you are. Because at least they might do a little bit of research then. Let's start stopping things when people in government don't listen and are only governing for themselves and the greed-fueled psychopaths who they're doing the dirty work for. We need to do something to stop these idiots. And unfortunately, because of indoctrination, they have got quite a few idiots following them, supporting them. But just look around you, see what's going on. Prices going up seemingly every week in the shops. Supermarkets, BlackRock's got shares in them. The promise that the government and councils want to be the biggest landlords. And the banks. The banks saying, oh, we'll buy houses, we'll be landlords. And they're not building anywhere near the rate they need to if they're going to let all these, in many cases, undocumented fighting age men into the country for a reason we don't know as yet, but there'll be a reason. Because no self-respecting government would let so many people in, not have a clue where they are, where they're going, wandering around towns like Dover, because of their different culture on many occasions, not being particularly nice to local girls. No self-respecting government would do that. Wake up, smell the roses, look up from your phone for 5 minutes and see what's happening around you. And for those that can see what's happening, stand for your council in May. Let's get these ideologues voted out. Let's stop my Polish lady from having to go back to Poland for safety, for free speech, if that exists there. Sorry about this, but everything is coming together and I can see it, and you might think I'm mad, oh that bloke's mad. But don't say I didn't warn you. I hope I'm wrong, but just in case I'm right, stand for the council, start writing to your MP, support the farmers, because if they go, we've got no food autonomy at all. And Bill Gates and co can get their bug diets in. I had to get that off my chest. Please subscribe to the channel, wake up and smell the roses, and have as good a day as you possibly can. I really do wish that for you. Okay, thanks for watching.